Hello my lovely viewer, I am back once again with an American comedy drama film called An American Pickle. Watch the full video to find out the interesting part and take care. The film begins in 1919 in Eastern Europe, in a town known as a shtetl. Herschel Greenbaum works as a ditch digger and is a desperate Jewish laborer. His job is exhausting and pays him little to nothing. He spends the majority of his earnings on new shovels, which break frequently. Herschel describes how difficult his life had been until he met the love of his life, Sarah, for the first time. He wins her over by buying her a golden fish from the market, and the two become friends. They share many traits, such as the fact that both of their parents were killed by Russian Cossacks. The couple's greatest aim is to one day be able to afford their own gravestone. They marry a few months later, aiming for a happy life together. Their preparations, however, are thwarted when Russian Cossacks raid the village shortly after the wedding ceremony. The couple decides to relocate to America in order to live a life free of terror. Although they are frequently referred to as anti-Semitic slang, Herschel claims that the Americans treat them far better than the Russians. He finds work at a pickle plant, where he gets paid a nickel for every 10 rats he kills. The couple works hard and eventually buys 2 graves so that they can be together after they die. Sarah becomes pregnant with their first child not long after. Everything changes, however, when Herschel accidentally falls into a vat of pickles just as the factory closes for health concerns. The vat is sealed shut, and he will be trapped within for the next 100 years. No one comes looking for him as time passes, until 2 teenagers enter the factory and open the vat cover, which had been knocked out by their drone by accident. Herschel is still alive and well after being trapped inside it for 100 years. His story spreads throughout the city, and a conference is held to explain how he managed to stay alive. The scientists offer a plausible explanation that the media accepts. Herschel is then transported to the hospital for a checkup, where he is deemed to be in good health save for his rage issues. The physicians discover that all of Herschel's relatives are deceased except for his great-grandson, Ben, after doing a background check. They discover out he resides in Brooklyn and is eager to take up his great-granddad after they contact him. When Ben first meets Herschel, he is taken aback by how similar the 2 men appear. Herschel is intrigued by the skyscrapers and vehicles and he first ventures outside of the building. Since his last visit to New York, everything has changed. Ben is thrilled to be able to display all of his new inventions to his grandfather. Herschel is even more surprised when they arrive at Ben's flat. He is accustomed to live in poverty and believes that the space is enormous and lavish. Ben invites him to stay as long as he wants, but Herschel thoughtfully declines, stating that he does not want to be a burden to him. Herschel's joy becomes even more when he gets to drink seltzer water, a drink that was once only reserved for royalty. Alexa is forced to play an old song by Ben, and the 2 dance together. Herschel asks Ben what he does for a living once they've settled down, assuming he's a doctor or a lawyer. When Ben claims he's a freelance app developer, he seems perplexed. Ben reveals that he has been working on Boop Bop for the past 5 years and is quite enthusiastic about it. It's a service that verifies a company's ethics before purchasing their goods. Herschel notices that there are no images of the family on the walls and inquires of Ben about it. Ben gives Herschel a family photo book, which makes him cry. When he sees Sarah's picture, he realizes he has a son. Ben becomes agitated when asked about his parents. He claims that they died in a car accident. The next day, they travel to visit their family's graves, only to find the cemetery in shambles, much to Herschel's dismay. He can't help but cry when he sees his wife's tombstone, which has been neglected. On top of their graves, some workers are erecting a billboard advertising Russian vodka. Herschel is reminded of the Cossacks, who murdered his parents and loved ones in shtetl. An irate Herschel demands that they put it down, but they refuse, prompting him to assault them. Ben tries to stop him, but instead gets beaten up. Both of them are arrested as a result of this. Ben spends a significant amount of money to bail them out. Ben has a meeting with an investor who is interested in investing in his app that day. However, he is heartbroken to learn that the investors have ditched him due to his criminal record. When he gets home, he blames Herschel of ruining his life. Ben's ideas are lost on Herschel, who suggests that they start a pickle company instead. Ben exclaims angrily that if Sarah were still alive, she would be ashamed of him. Herschel resolves to develop a pickle empire and make his dead relatives proud by raising the billboard at that precise moment. After calling Ben a shame to their family name, he storms out of the flat. He goes to the store to buy cucumbers at first, but they are too expensive. He finds the cucumbers piled in the container outside the store while roaming around. He brings them with him and collects all of the essential ingredients from trash throughout the city in a similar manner. He ultimately makes the brine for the pickles with the help of a shopping cart, salt, and rainfall. After that, he sets up a makeshift pickle stand along the side of the road. He sells his first jar to a couple for $4. The number of consumers increases because he hasn't added any preservatives and is selling them at a lesser price than the grocery shop. He also asks them to return the jars after they are empty, giving the impression that his company is eco-friendly. His customers begin to post about him on social media, which enormously expands his business. Ben soon learns about Herschel's local pickle company, which is the talk of the town. While he attempts to come up with ideas for his new software, he learns that Herschel's company is a huge success. This makes him envious. One day, he phones the health authorities and complains about Herschel's pickles being made using garbage. His business is forced to close, and he is fined $12,000. Herschel is left with no resources, just where he started. Two of his loyal clients suggest that he recruit interns because he won't have to pay them. Even though he believes it is identical to slavery, Herschel is impressed by the concept. To brine and package the pickles, he recruits a crew of interns. They are soon approved by the health department after they utilize correct ethical ways to create them. The interns also assist him in selling the pickle on a bigger scale, allowing the company to soon recover. Herschel quickly accumulates sufficient funds to purchase and remove the billboard. Meanwhile, Ben notices that the same people who were going to invest in his app are now interested in Herschel's company. Herschel returns the billboard to Ben's apartment to celebrate his victory. He claims that he wants to assist Ben because they are after all family. Ben, on the other hand, is not fond of the concept and simply wants the man to leave. Herschel makes a remark about how ignorant the Polish men are while they converse. This gives Ben yet another idea for how to get out of the pickle business. He proposes Herschel set up a Twitter account. Herschel tweets inflammatory things on women, religion, and homosexuality with the help of an intern later that evening. People gather in front of his shop the next day, criticizing his ideas and pushing everyone to boycott his pickle business. His interns also leave him and join the protesters. Herschel maintains his convictions even after it. With time, he gains support from conservative organizations who regard him as a symbol of freedom of expression and empowerment. He's even chosen to participate in a debate with a college lecturer on the topic of ethics. At first glance, his remarks regarding women in general appear to be bold statements. However, a disguised Ben from the audience approaches him and inquires about his views on Christianity. Herschel goes on to claim that the Virgin Mary created Christianity to conceal her sexual relations. He refers to everybody who believes in Jesus as a moron. People who had previously supported him are now chasing him along the streets of New York, threatening to kill him for insulting their religion. By hiding in an alleyway, he manages to save his life. He sees a news story late at night about nationwide protests calling for a complete boycott of him. Authorities begin digging into his past in order to transfer him to Eastern Europe. Furthermore, the paperwork for Herschel's arrival cannot be found due to the storage facility's obsolete file system. This provides an excuse for the authorities to remove his citizenship. He is declared a fugitive illegal alien, and anyone who sees him is asked to contact the police. With no other options, Herschel goes to his sole family, Ben, for support. He says he would move to Canada and start a business there because he does not want to return to Shtetl. Ben reluctantly agrees to assist him one final time. To illegally enter Canada, the two drive to the Canadian border and go through the woods. Ben slashes his palm on the way, and Herschel tears a piece of his clothing to bandage the wound. He keeps his great-grandson warm by hugging him at night. Despite the fact that Ben has been cruel to him, Herschel considers him family. They finally make it to the border the next morning, but they had to flee as Border Patrol is close to spotting them. During their conversation, Ben feels awful for Herschel and admits that he was the one who asked him about Christianity in order to damage the pickle business. Ben expects Herschel to forgive him, but instead he is punched in the face. He passes out, and the noise draws the attention of the border guard. Ben's razor and clothes are found in a bag by Herschel. He rapidly devises a plan to flee and assumes the identity of Ben. Officers mistake Ben for Herschel and arrest him, but Herschel is released since he possesses Ben's ID. Ben is then placed on trial, but when he pleads that he is not Herschel, his case is dismissed as a joke. Instead of his great-grandfather, he is eventually taken to Shtetl. In a town full of foreigners who do not speak English, he is alone and lonely. He tries to make conversation with strangers, asking for a place to stay the night. He finds himself in a synagogue and decides to remain. Herschel, on the other hand, is heartbroken for his great-grandson. He returns to his flat and peruses the photo book of his family. He discovers a drawing of his parents that Ben had created as a child while remembering about the good old days. It is only then that Herschel discovers that Boop and Bob were Ben's parents' pet names. He sees that Ben had always wished to respect and honor his parents, and he regrets having misunderstood him. The man then decides to travel to Shtetl and return Ben to his home. Meanwhile, in Shtetl, Ben is invited by the synagogue's congregation to pray and pay tribute to the deceased family members. He becomes emotional during the prayer, but he feels much better afterwards. Herschel appears in front of him and apologizes for his conduct, much to his surprise. He claims Ben is everything he wished for his descendants to be, and that his parents must be proud of him. The couple reconciles and visits a lake that was formerly Sarah's favorite hangout. They talk of establishing a pickle company together, where they can pickle more than cucumbers. Ben proposes that he establish a website for their business so that they can sell globally. Finally, the two return to Brooklyn and pay their respects to Sarah's grave. They pray together in honor of the deceased family members in the closing scene. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.